Girl, stop playing.
Welcome back to another episode of the Girl Stop Playing podcast. It's your favorite homegirl, Koereyelle, here to encourage you to stop playing with your potential and start working for what you want in life and in love. You already know that I believe you can make the money and you can get the honey. You can have it all as long as you are willing to work. So it is my goal to bring you the information and the conversations to help you do just that. This week's solo sermon, before we get into it, I have to just let y'all know that I am beyond excited to finally share that my latest book, Nobody is Coming to Save You, is available right now. You can grab your copy on Amazon. You can get the print copy and it'll be there in 2 days, depending on the city that you live in, or you can get your copy instantly through Kindle ebook. For those of y'all who are asking, yes, the Audible version will be available. I don't want to say soon because I don't want you to wait on the Audible, but it's on my to-do list, okay? It is one of my maternity leave projects. So I am like officially on maternity leave well, I don't want to say I'm on a fake maternity leave, but I don't have anywhere that I have to show up to in real life. So I'm super excited about that. I have crossed that milestone. And so I have some things that I'm going to be checking off, but I'm teleworking right now. I'm working remote from here on out. So I'm super excited. I just wrapped up my work university homecoming retreat over the weekend. We were hanging out, getting busy at the beach in Playa del Carmen, Mexico. We had almost 30 ladies who joined us for some fun in the sun and a little bit of work. And so I definitely want to shout out all of those ladies who traveled with us, who got outside. I love being able to connect with y'all in person. I was able to hug each and every one of you, and I cannot wait to do it again. I will make sure that I drop the link in the description for those of y'all who want to grab your copy of the book. And if you want to learn more about Work University, we are under construction right now because y'all know I'm like the pivot princess, okay? Your girl is always coming up with a new goal, a new plan, a new idea. And so we are revamping Work University. But if you would like to learn more, definitely make sure you stay connected with me at workuniversity.com and also at The Work University on Instagram. One other thing that I'm excited to share with you all, and it's also like the foundation of today's solo sermon, is the fact that your girl finally did a TED Talk. Okay, I finally crossed this thing off the list. And let me just tell y'all how God works. So a couple months ago in September, I spoke at someone else's retreat in Playa del Carmen, Mexico, actually. And prior to me speaking at that retreat, I had started looking into hosting my own TED Talk. So I had never done a TED Talk before, but I've attended some. And because I've created this new media mentorship, I really want to be able to create opportunities and provide platforms for my mentees to be able to share their stories and to, gain exposure for their expertise and all of the amazing things that they're doing. So I had started talking about the fact that I wanted to host a TED Talk. And when I got to this retreat in Mexico, the host of the retreat gave everyone a book. Y'all, tell me why the book that she gave me was literally like the TED book. The founder of TED Talks wrote a book talking about storytelling. And that's the book that she just so happened to gift me inside of the gift bag. So that was like sign number one. That was like confirmation that it was coming, right? Then someone who was at the event that was also part of like organizing it, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I got this book. Like, I really want to apply so that I can host my own TED event. And she's like, I can help you do that. So I'm like, okay, that's sign number two, right? Then I recorded the solo sermon a couple of weeks ago on your bamboo season. And I got such great feedback that I'm like, whenever I do my TED Talk, I literally text my producer and I'm like, whenever I do my TED Talk, I want to make sure like that I talk about the bamboo season. And she's like, it's already done. She always keeps me on track with, my prayer life and keeping my spirit in check. And she's like, yo, it's already done. You've spoken it. It's done. Tell me why. I want to say less than a week, but for sure, less than 2 weeks after I text that to my producer, I get a text message that says, do you want to do a TED Talk? Are you interested in doing a TED Talk? And I'm like, yo, God, stop playing with your girl. Like, cut it out. Yes, of course, I want to do a TED Talk. And so when I say the power of manifestation is really real, like when you set when you set your sights on something, when you have a definite and specific goal and are intentional about it and release it. Cause I wasn't pressed. I didn't start like looking for opportunities to do TED Talks. It literally just showed up at my door or showed up on my phone via a text message. And so that was 2 weeks ago. And 2 days ago, I actually was able to do my first TED Talk. And so today's message, what I want to share with you all is part of what I shared in my TED Talk, and it is the pain principle. Now, the topic of my TED Talk, which I'll be able to see one day, I'm not sure when it will be released, but y'all will be able to see it one day. But my topic was the secret to success that you'd never expect. And should I even tell you? I'm not going to tell y'all because you'll probably go watch the TED Talk and I don't want to give it away. But I basically broke down the secret to success and how it is something unexpected, something that we all have access to, and something that, I think is really going to be helpful for a lot of people. And I shared my story of the season that I was in when I learned this secret to success. And so part of what I shared was this pain principle, 4 very hard lessons that I had to learn the hard way that hopefully will be helpful for someone else. And because I thought they were pretty helpful, I wanted to share them with my Girls Stop Playin peeps. So the pain principle, 4 very hard lessons that I had to learn the hard way. The first, and of course, this is an acronym for pain. Y'all know I'm still very much so a teacher in my spirit. I'm still 2nd and 3rd grade shawty. Okay. So I got an acronym for everything. So the pain principle is an acronym for the word pain. And the P stands for this: problems create possibilities. Not only do problems create possibilities, problems create an opportunity for you to pivot. One of the things that I realized, and it's so funny because one of my authors inside of this book just mentioned it to me that, if everything had worked out the way that I wanted it to work out in this specific situation that I was going through, I would have never become the woman that I was born to become. And a lot of times, even though we have all of these grand plans, even though we have like the perfect picture painted in our imagination of how things are going to play out, many times if things work out in that way, we never really learn the lessons that we're meant to learn. We never really learn what we're made of, what we're capable of, how creative we can be, because things just work out perfectly. And so a lot of times the quote unquote challenges, the quote unquote obstacles are really opportunities for us to see what we're made of. They're really opportunities for us to dig deeper to figure out how we can get to our dreams in a different way, not just the way that we're expecting. And so problems create possibilities. They create new opportunities for us to figure out a new way of doing things. And so instead of living our lives trying to avoid so-called failure, instead of living our lives trying to detour and, derail ourselves from any type of problems, we have to start changing our mindset on these so-called problems and really looking at our obstacles as opportunities to do do it in a different way, to go in another direction, looking at it as God's redirection. So number 1, problems create possibilities. Okay. It's not the end all be all. Problems create possibilities. The A in this pain principle: you got to be willing to accept that failure, quote unquote, failure is inevitable. And I say quote unquote, and I'm doing air quotes as I record this, because we see it as a failure at the time. In the moment, it feels like a failure because it's not working out the way we envisioned it, the way we imagined it. But in the future, like our future selves, hindsight is 2020. So that so-called failure is usually just fuel that's going to take you into your future. That so-called failure is usually just a part of the plan. It's a part of the process. It's meant to show you something that otherwise you wouldn't have seen. And so it's not our goal to avoid failure at all costs. Instead, our goal should be figuring out how we can use that failure as fuel. How can we figure out like what it is that God is trying to show us? Why is it that we had to like run into this brick wall? Why is it that it didn't work out? What is it that we need to know so that in the next season, we don't have to learn this same lesson? So what is this quote unquote failure doing for us? Okay, it's not happening to us, it's happening for us. So not only do we have to realize that problems create possibilities and an opportunity to pivot, we also have to realize that failure is inevitable, that because you are failing in this moment, that does not mean that you are a failure. That means that this thing wasn't meant to work out in this way. Not that it's not going to happen at all, but maybe it's just not going to happen in the way that you envision. So you got to accept that that's just part of it. That it is not a reflection of you. It does not mean that you are a failure. It does not mean that you are not worthy. Okay. It just means that in this moment, at this time, in this way, it's not meant to work out in the way that you expected, in the way that you anticipated. And I know that doesn't feel good. Failure never feels good, but it all comes down to you recognizing that those failures are truly just lessons learned. Okay. It's you figuring it out. So instead of saying I failed, no, I just figured it out. I figured out that wasn't for me and it's going to help me figure out what is. Okay. The I in our pain principle, you got to be willing, even when it's uncomfortable, you have to be willing to identify recurring relationships, recurring themes. Like, what are those things that you continuously and consistently find yourself being faced with? What are those troubles or those struggles or those people or those problems or those situations that you continue to find yourself caught up in? Because guess what? Oh, in all of our relationships, in all of our jobs, in all of the projects that we've been involved in, regardless of the problems that have presented themselves, we are the common denominator. And as uncomfortable as it may be, we have to figure out what it is that we're bringing to the table. Like, how are we showing up in these situations that's consistently causing us to have these same outcomes? Like, if every relationship is ending in the same way, if every relationship ends in abuse, if every relationship ends in infidelity, if every relationship ends with you having some trust issues, you are the common denominator, sis. And you have to be willing to identify and investigate those recurring themes. Because guess what? You're going to be faced with it over and over again until you get it. And sometimes God has to sit us down. Sometimes God has to show us those things that we may not even be ready to see. But the quicker you learn the lesson, the quicker you figure out how you're showing up, what you're bringing to the table, how you are self-sabotaging, the quicker you can learn the lesson and take that lesson as a tool into your next season so you can do things differently. So you got to be willing to identify and investigate recurring relationships. What are those recurring themes that you keep seeing over and over and over again? I always end up leaving my job because of XYZ. It might be a different company, but it's the same cause. I always end up breaking up with my boyfriend because of XYZ. It's a new man, but the same mess. Like, what are those things that are recurring over and over and over again? Because if you don't get to the bottom of it, you're going to continue to go through it. And last but not least, no means next opportunity. It doesn't mean that it's never going to happen. It doesn't mean that you're not worthy of it. It doesn't mean that God is punishing you. It doesn't mean that he's forgotten about you. No simply means next opportunity. And if now is not the right time, trust and believe that when the timing is right, And when you get yourself in alignment with your divine assignment, things are going to work out. It's inevitable. It has to happen. There is something, some mission that you were born to live out, some message that you were created to share. And as soon as you get in alignment, as soon as you get that connection to your creator, you will stop running into those no's and you will get the yes. And guess what? I don't care if you've been faced with a million no's. I don't care if every question you've been asking has been resulting in a no. All you need is one yes. Okay. And guess what? That yes could be one email away. It could be one phone call away. It could be one text message away. It could be one connection away. It could be one random stranger away. That's the power of one. All you need is one yes. All you need is one yes to outweigh every single no. And so even if you are right now in that season of struggle, even if you are in that season of quote unquote failure, even if you are in that season that's making you question everything and everyone, I need for you to understand that even when it feels painful, there's a purpose. Your job is not to avoid the pain. It's to dig deep enough to figure out what it is that pain is trying to lead you to. I hope that you are feeling inspired, encouraged, and ready to work because God has something so amazing for you that He's ready for you to get to. You just got to position yourself, pray a little bit harder for direction, for alignment, for clarity. And I promise you, every single thing that's meant to be, every single thing that you are meant to have, every single blessing with your name on it is coming to you. You just got to get in alignment. I love you. See you on the next episode.